Hey, congratulations, you're almost done all your research. Now we're just putting it together. So when you get your notes back, this is what it might look like. And you'll have some comments from me. So I'm going to walk you through what you would do for the last step. So it's saying here, look at the comments I made about your research notes. Which information did we agree answers the questions? Put the in-text citation next to those points. So let's start with which information did we agree with, and then put an in-text citation. So an in-text citation is a little clue to show the reader where the information came from. So because we're going to be mixing around different sources, right, now that we decide that we do want to keep this information, we want to just quickly put that it was the author's last name and the year. So in this case, Spur 2020 in brackets. So every time I see this point or this citation next to something, I know it came from that article. Okay, it's going to take me just a few moments to do that. So I'm going to do that first so I don't forget. I'm going to go, okay, control copy, paste, 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 control paste, control V, paste. Okay, this way I won't accidentally forget. Now I know I'm safe. All of the sources that came from this article have been identified as belonging to that article by the author's last name. Okay? If you don't have a last name of an article, like let's say it's CBC News, you would then put instead CBC and then the year of the article. Okay? So if you have questions about that, you can always ask me and I'll help you. So the next thing I'm going to do is it says, okay, what information did we agree answers the questions? So now it's actually time to read my notes, okay? So here we did this as a class together at one of our meets, and we agreed that this piece of information was helpful because our research question was, if you remember, what challenges are there when social distancing in a busy city like Toronto? So we're looking for information about the challenges and possibly even the solutions to those problems. So sidewalks are narrow. Is that a challenge? Yes, it is. So I'm going to keep this note. A man made a social distancing machine so that it shows how difficult it is to stay away from people. That's showing a challenge. Now here's a note that I put here. How is this answering the question? Because I'm saying Torontonians probably liked the video of the guy walking around with those hoops because it was funny. And that was important, keeping everyone's mind on things. Okay, so the video was funny. Does that answer my question? Is it showing me a challenge? No. So if you see a comment like this saying, how is this answering your question? Most likely you either have to change it a lot or better yet, just delete that one comment. It just means that it's not worth your time and energy to try to put it into paragraphs, okay? It's not gonna help you. Notice I also deleted the text that went with it, okay? If you ever make a mistake and you wanna, take something back that you deleted, just click these buttons, redo or undo, and it will give you back your work, okay? So now that I'm here, moving this up, this was a good point. It tells me about the statistics. All of the rest of the points don't have any comments that are negative. In fact, this one I say is really good for improving. So that was a compliment. So another peer thought this was a strong point when we did it as a class, a very strong point. So I'm going to keep all of this information. Okay, I don't have to fix anything. Now, the woman said, now if I had a comment here that said, who is the woman? Let's say that's there, okay? This doesn't mean that your point is necessarily bad. I'm giving you a clue that this information isn't quite clear yet, right? So in this case, the woman said that alerting and telling people that Toronto's government is closing lanes, streets to car traffic can have an opposite impact. My question is, who's the lady? Why am I listening to this woman? Right? Is she important? Is she a member of the public? Or is she, someone important? So if you want to go back to this point, it's really easy to fix it. All you're going to do is look at the text that you copied it from, choose a couple keywords. So warning that closing lanes, I'm going to take that part. I'm only going to copy a little bit of it. I'm going to go to the original article that I got that information from, and I'm going to use my best friend, Control Find. I'm going to paste this in, and voila, it's going to highlight exactly where that information is. So I can go back and reread it and see what was not clear about it. So in this case, I'm looking for who is the woman. Davila responded Monday with a letter of her own. Oh, is Davila the woman? Repeating the city's position that the most effective way to fight COVID is to encourage people to stay home, and warning that closing lanes could have the opposite effect. So it's Davila. Now, I'm still with the same problem. Who is Davila? I don't know. Is this an important person, right? Maybe if you're listening to the news, you should know, but I'm going to put in the word Davila now and see. Again, this is going to take me an extra 5 seconds, and look at that. Now, finally, I'm at the part in the article where it tells me Mayor Tory and Toronto Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Elaine Davila. So you've probably seen her in the news. She is the head medical chief in Toronto. So I'm going to copy that, and now I'm going to go back to my notes, and I'm going to replace woman, because I know it's this particular woman, with that information. Okay, boom. So now it's more clear who is speaking and why I respect her opinion. If she's a doctor of medical health for Toronto, she would know what she's talking about. Okay, now that I've done all this information, I'm just going to check there's no other comments from me as a teacher that say how to improve something. Everything looks good. I have a citation that's really simple next to the points before I move things around. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy all of this information from my own words, and I'm going to copy this. Control, copy, or I could say Control C for copy. I am not going to cut the information out. In case something happens to my computer, I want to make sure it's still here. I can go back to it. I'm going to take that information and I'm going to stick it into this box. Okay, and this is the last part. Now here I gave myself some guiding questions to help make it easier for me to organize my ideas. My 2 questions are, what are the challenges of social distancing in Toronto? So in other words, what are the problems? I'm going to put that here so it's a little easier for me. What are the problems? And then here I have, what are ways to solve these challenges? In other words, what are some solutions? Okay? Now, you can have as many headings as you want to help yourself. I know some students are doing different projects. They might want to have, like, where are diamonds from? What are the environmental conflicts with diamonds? And they might have different headings, so it's really easy to organize your ideas. If you're doing electric cars, you could have your first one, what is an electric car? If you had some research for that, what are things Toronto is doing to encourage electric car use? So you create the question that helps guide your information. What's going to help you organize? Okay, if you need help with this part, please ask tomorrow, send me an email, and I'll give you some suggestions of headings that could help you. Okay, but at least have 2, the challenge and the solution, or what's happening in Toronto and what could be done better. Now, once I have this information, I'm going to take the information notes I have here, and I'm going to start to just put it under the heading to make it really easy for me to organize my ideas after. So Toronto sidewalks are narrow. Is that a problem? Yep, I'm going to keep it there. A man made a social distancing machine to show how hard or how challenging it is. That's a challenge. I'm going to keep it here. The city shows 13% of trips rely on walking or cycling, and that number rises to 41% if you're downtown and goes even higher if public transit trips require walking. Why did I do this again? Oh yeah, because I wanted to show that there's lots of people walking and cycling in certain areas of the city. It's busy. That's a challenge. I'm going to keep that information here. Okay. More than 60 cities have freed up road space to allow more people to walk around, for walking around. That seems to be a solution. I'm going to copy this, or sorry, in this case, I might actually cut it to just move it over here. And then over here, I still have, this is also part of possible solutions. I'm going to move it all here. Okay. Now, the last part of your work for the weekend is, I'm going to delete this because now I know I've already moved it. Done. So the last part I'm going to do is now I get to put my ideas into sentences. So I'll use this one as an example. I want to show what are some challenges of social distancing in Toronto. Okay, so I'm going to start off with Toronto sidewalks are narrow, making it hard for people to social distance. Every time I have the in-text citation, I'm just going to put the period after it, okay? When we read it, we'll just ignore it. Toronto sidewalks are narrow, making it hard for people to social distance. I don't actually read the citation. The only time I really pay attention to it is if I want to know where the information came from at the end, okay? So, Toronto sidewalks are narrow, making it hard for people to social distance. A man made a social distancing machine using pipes and bicycle tubes to show how hard it is to stay 2 meters away from other people. That kind of flows. That actually works out. So I'm just going to put it together. I've already put it in my own words, so I don't need to worry about plagiarism, and I'm giving credit to where the information is coming from, so I'm being super safe. Okay, I like this sentence. This is great. I'm going to put my period after. So the city shows 13% of trips rely on walking or cycling. That does not flow as much. Now, you could put it like this, and I'm not going to fail you or anything like that. But if you're really trying to work on your English skills, what could be a way that we flow this together? Well, the city shows 13% of trips rely on walking or cycling. The number rises to 41% downtown and goes even higher if public transit trips that require walking are factored. So what am I really choosing in this point? Well, I was trying to show that downtown is the most crowded. So I'm going to use that. One of the most crowded areas is downtown Toronto. Because 41%, let's see, 41% of walking and 41% of trips are done by walking or cycling here. Okay? This number is even higher if public transit trips that require walking are factored. Period. That's a hard word, but there you go. So now I'm going to check my thinking as I read it out loud. Does it make sense? Right? Kind of. I know we're all learning English, so it's okay if it's, not perfect, but let's check. Toronto sidewalks are narrow, making it hard for people to social distance. Okay. A man made a social distancing machine using pipes and bicycle tubes to show how hard it is to stay 2 meters away from other people. That makes sense. One of the most crowded areas is downtown Toronto, because 41% of trips are done by walking or cycling here. This number is even higher if public transit trips that require walking are factored. So again, this just shows that you're trying to put your ideas into a paragraph, and you can include information from different sources. So let's say I had another article that had social distancing problems. I could put the information in a new paragraph, or I could say, oh, I have another detail about walking and cycling. I'm going to add that information right after here. And that's okay because you have a citation after that shows you got that information from a different source. Okay? So at the end of this, all you do is you have your little paragraph here. I would make a little paragraph out of this information. Okay? And you're going to return your assignment to me. And by Monday, I will check that your paragraph makes sense. And if it doesn't, I will help you fix it with some ideas in the comment area so that when you put it into your final project next week, we're just literally going to copy and paste. That's how easy it's going to be. You're going to have your paragraph here, You're going to copy it, and we're going to paste it into the story map. And then the rest of it is pictures and maps and lots of fun visuals, which we get to work on next week. Okay? Thanks so much. So hand in your work after you get your paragraphs done. Okay? And even if you don't think it's great, hand it in. You're going to get marks for trying. You're going to get marks for doing it. And I'll give you lots of chances to fix it. Thanks a lot.